about 1967, 66, in that era. Mrs. Agnes McCrae Morton asked me if I was interested in being director of piping and drumming at her games, the Grandfather Mountain Games.
The Grandfather Mountain Highland Games, or as it's known by its official title, the Grandfather Mountain Highland Games and Gathering of Scottish Clans. Founded in 1956, the Grandfather Mountain Highland Games have become one of, if not the most famous, Scottish festivals in the world.
I've been coming to these games a little over 20 years. I started coming with my father. He wanted to learn more about our history and our culture and our heritage. And as soon as we came, we fell in love.
The games are held during the second full weekend each July in the midst of North Carolina's high country. High on the slopes of Grandfather Mountain, they call McCrae Meadow home.
You're in the most beautiful setting, high in the mountains.
In fact, at 4,400 feet above sea level, McCrae Meadow is as high as any mountain in Scotland.
It's the most amazing place on earth.
The Grandfather Mountain Highland Games were co-founded by Agnes McCrae Morton, mother of famed photographer and longtime owner of Grandfather Mountain Hugh Morton, and Donald F. McDonald.
The Grandfather Mountain Highland Games began in 1956, but 2 years before that, I was a reporter in Charlotte, North Carolina, on a newspaper, the old Charlotte News, and wanted to go on vacation to the land of my ancestors, which is Scotland. And when I got to Scotland, I went to the Braemar Highland Games, the Highland Gathering. So anyway, I was so enthusiastic about it. I got myself a huge program that's about the same size as a telephone directory, brought it back with me to North Carolina. When I got back, I started up a Robert Burns Society, the U.S. branch of the Clandonald, and also started a Scottish country dancing group. And all of these things were written up in the papers or were on radio, on television, and Mrs. Agnes McCrae Morton heard and read about this.
Morton and MacDonald were brought together by a shared love of Scottish heritage.
I said, how about having not just one clan society meeting, let's have a gathering of all the clans and have Highland Games, competitions and various things, track and field, bagpiping, Highland dancing, all of these things that are traditional that I had learned about at Braemar. And I must say, Mrs. Morton didn't know about Highland Games. She said, well, let's have a go.
The games began modestly, first held on Sunday, August 19th, 1956. Morton and MacDonald selected this date because it was the anniversary of Bonnie Prince Charles landing in Scotland. Agnes and Donald were aware of Scottish festivals which had been held 200 years prior at Ellerby and Laurel Hill. Those events had run their course by the 1840s, but North Carolina was still home to many people of Scottish descent. It remains so today.
I remember very well Mrs. Morton mentioning that she didn't care what I did or how I did it to improve the piping and drumming, but she'd like to maintain the games being a clan gathering, and that's something we've held to over the years.
What began as a one-day event in 1956 now stretches over 4 days.
It's what I look forward to more than anything else every year.
It remains, at heart, a gathering.
The games that we have here are very well known in Scotland. We now have about 40,000 people from about that 1,000 that we had that first year. We've moved into double figures, and it's amazing.
The games grew so much over the years, and of course the attendance has grown right along with it. Consequently, I believe it's one of the biggest Highland clan gatherings in the world.
We have the largest number of clan societies in the world, many more than many clan societies in Scotland.
After 60 years, the Games remain traditionally Scottish. It hosts national competitions in Highland dance, piping, drumming, Scottish heavy athletics.
Where else are you going to go and see a bunch of burly men and women throwing telephone poles?
And track and field. The Grandfather Mountain Hill Climb, known as the Bear, and the Grandfather Mountain Marathon are world-class events.
We also have, and we've had this for years, is a marathon that starts over near Boone and it runs all over the mountains and finishes at the Games Field at McRae Meadows. That's really growing. I think that's probably one of the most difficult marathons in the country. And we also have a race that we call the Bear Race. Starts down at the foot of the mountain and runs all the way to the top. And that's the fellow that runs that. He opens that up on the internet for the runners to sign up, and it fills up within minutes, thousands of people.
Spectators may enjoy events such as sheepdog demonstrations and modern and traditional Celtic music.
We have a gentleman who is in charge of all the music which we call the groves. And there's a lot of entertainment, different groups going on in these groves. And his name is E.J. Jones, and he's trying to educate the people that the connection between the Appalachian music and the Celtic music, and that's been very important to this area and to the people who attend the games.
I come at this as a musician who's played lots of festivals for the last 20 years or so, and having played lots of festivals, I know how much has changed in the culture because of a big festival like Grandfather. Bands and musicians have their whole careers anchored around big festivals like Grandfather. We have a mission to purvey, to amplify the culture of Celtic music in this country. So what I'm trying to do in booking is I'm trying to make sure that the audience takes away something real. That when the audience scratches the surface of the entertainment at Grandfather, what they see is a whole wonderful world, years of history, relationships that go back from teacher to student for many, many years. And what they can take away is a real connection to Scottish culture and to the beauty of Scottish music.
The Grandfather Mountain Highland Games have had many firsts since 1956. The Thursday evening torchlight ceremony, the Sunday morning worship service on the grounds, the parade of tartans, all began at Grandfather and spread to other Scottish festivals across the U.S. Another unique aspect of the Grandfather Mountain Highland Games is the on-site camping. Almost all campers return year after year to spend a week or more on the mountain, enjoying their meals, their music, and their camaraderie. It is easy amongst all the hubbub to forget an important purpose of the games. That purpose is to provide scholarships to high country students who wish to continue their education after high school. And so, setting family and heritage aside, the games provide a unique and magical experience for spectators and much needed support for local students.
People we have now are the people who came as children when they were younger, and now they're the mainstream of our games. People come to our games because the way the games has been for all these years. We'd just like to see it kind of continue just the way it always has been. The vision of the people who started it in the beginning.
And it's such a friendly place. I mean, this is something outstanding to me. And to know that I had anything at all to do with the beginning of it, it makes me very proud. I hope I don't try to seem as if I'm really somebody, you know, for having done that, but it just so happened that I sort of hit a nerve.
The festival can find people who might normally be a little too shy. And if you put a microphone in front of that person, then wonderful music can arise. And musician relationships can lead to better and better, more and more interesting, more and more beautiful music that we never knew would exist. And Grandfather's the place where that kind of thing can happen.
But more than anything, what's kept me coming back are the people. I've met so many amazing people that have become more than just friends. They're family. They're Games family.
Come along and join the fun. We'll see you on the mountain.